And now we have Misbah Alghamdi,
Yes.
who is a PhD student at the University of Birmingham in the UK.
Hello, everyone. This is Misbah Alghamdi, PhD student at University of Birmingham in the Environmental Health and Risk Management program. And today, I'm delighted to give a presentation about the chlorinated organophosphate flame retardant in childcare articles. This presentation will cover a couple of points like background, sampling, and experimental methods, results, and summary. A little bit of background about the chlorinated organophosphate flame retardant, or chlorinated OPFRs. They've been used as flame retardant in many daily consumer goods like furniture, childcare items, plastics, electronics, and automobiles. The three most commonly used chlorinated OPFRs are TCEP, TDCIPP, and TCIPP. This investigation about these three chlorinated OPFRs because children can expose to these chemicals through different routes like air inhalation, dietary intakes, dust ingestion, dermal uptake through either the skin contact with the dust or with the fabrics of these childcare items. According to many studies, it's been known that chlorinated OPFRs have their own toxic effects as carcinogenic, cytotoxic, neurotoxic, endocrine dysfunction effect, also a developmental toxicity interference with reproductive function. So this slide will talk about sampling and experimental methods. Samples, about 108 samples from Ireland and 89 samples from the UK of fabrics and foams were collected from items like childcare car seats, booster seats, pushchairs, prams, play mats, couches, feeding seats, baby walkers, sleeping bags, carrier, changing mats, mousses basket, and many other items. And to determine the three chlorinated OPFRs, like concentrations, we use the Agilent 5975C gas chromatography mass spectrometry. The results. Overall, what we found that the average concentrations of chlorinated OPFRs were higher in Ireland than in the UK. You can see in the graph that TDCIPP is up to 4,800 milligram per kilogram, comparing to the UK, which has 1,100. And also TCIPP levels were higher also in Ireland than in the UK, but they have a quite similar concentration, average concentration of TCEP. The detection frequency of the three chlorinated OPFRs were also high in both countries, but higher in Ireland than in the UK. And we looked where the concentrations exceeding 1,000 milligram per kilogram, and we found that in about 21 samples from the Irish sample contained one of them contained TCEP, and TDCIPP was found in 12, while TCIPP found in 8. This 1,000 milligram per kilogram is equal to 0.1 by weight, percent by weight, which is for the material quite enough to be flame retardant. Also, for the UK samples, we found 3 of them contained TDCIPP at level exceeding 1,000 milligram per kilogram, and 10 containing TCIPP. Another thing that we found that in changing mat from the UK, we found that TCIPP concentration were higher in fabrics than in foams. That was up to 10,000 milligram per kilogram in fabrics, while in foam it was about 2,000 milligram per kilogram. This is assuming that the fabrics in this case were treated with TCIPP. We found also that TCEP and TDCIPP were in higher concentration, or the maximum in car seats from Ireland. But in UK, we found only TDCIPP in poster seats. The highest readings of TCIPP was found in carry-cut mattress from Ireland and in changing mat from the UK. In this graph, you can see that car seats have the highest average of TDCIPP in Ireland, where the Y error is expression the maximum concentration, we found that car seats have TDCIPP that is up to like 70,000 milligram per kilogram, while in couch and mattresses, we found TCIPP where it's up to 50,000 milligram per kilogram. Other items contain trace amounts of chlorinated OPFR not exceeding, here, as you can see here on the right, not exceeding 1,000 milligram per gram, except the baby seat. In the UK, only child booster seats have TDCIPP, and where the maximum concentration was up to 50,000 milligram per kilogram. Changing mats have up to 10,000 milligram per kilogram, and the other items were up to 7,000 milligram per kilogram of TCIPP. Also, we calculated the estimation of children exposure to this chemical of chlorinated OPFRs through dermal uptake. We used this equation and we assumed we only focused on fabric samples containing any concentrations of chlorinated OPFRs more than 1,000 milligram per kilogram. And the exposure was calculated for only 2 hours, exposure of 2 hours. We found that in the average of TCIPP in the UK was higher than in Ireland, but TDCIPP was higher in Ireland than in the UK. Here we can see the average for TCIPP in the UK was 560 nanogram per kilogram body weight per day, while the maximum that can be up to 1,200 nanogram per kilogram body weight per day. And the average of TDCIPP was 85 in the island, but up to 290 nanogram per kilogram body weight per day in Ireland. So just to summarize, we found in childcare articles from both countries of UK and Ireland that chlorinated OPFR is found, and also the concentrations are generally higher in Ireland than in the UK. In items used in cars, we found that TDCIPP dominates, while in other articles, TCIPP dominates. And this can be explained because TDCIPP is more expensive and used mostly for automobiles application, while TCIPP is the more preferred for its lower price we used in many consumer goods in Europe. Approximately 19% of the Irish samples and 15% of the UK samples contained over 1,000 milligram, which is equal to 0.1% by weight of chlorinated OPFRs. Dermal uptake of chlorinated OPFRs, as we can see, as we saw in the previous slide, that can be an important route of exposure for children. This research, the acknowledgement in here, this research is analyzed some samples acquired through the SAFER project that is funded by the EPA research. Thanks also to the Al University, who provided myself with a PhD scholarship. Thank you. Any question, please?
We do have time for a question if anybody has one.
Yeah, very nice talk. And I'm wondering why the variety of the error bar is so big for your data. I don't know why. Is that because the sample size is so small, or?
Sorry, why is what?
The error bar is so big for your data. Error bar.
Yeah, that could be because of the sample size.
Oh, okay, got it.
When you were looking at the fabrics, did you specifically look at like sleepwear pajamas that are worn by infants, which at least in the US are commonly impregnated with flame retardants?
Yeah, so you are asking about the fabrics, if I included any pajamas in of the fabric samples?
Yeah, if they're like within the fabrics, was that one a different category than other fabrics?
Yeah, it was the fabrics of changing mats or pads, but not about pajamas or clothes.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Misbah.
You're so welcome. Thank you.